Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. My name is Elizabeth and today we are going to be having a PDF showdown where we walk you through some of the most popular PDF viewers for construction. And as you may know, there are a few like Adobe Acrobat, PDF Expert, Foxit, or Bluebeam Review. Today we are going to put Adobe and Bluebeam head to head. We're going to go over their key features, who they serve best in your company, in your construction company specifically. Maybe not everybody needs the same features, so we're going to be going over the key features for Adobe and Bluebeam, and we're going to decide what tool is best for whom in your office. So Bluebeam or Adobe, it really does depend on who is using the tool. And here are the key features that we're going to be looking at today. The first, of course, is security. We want to make sure that we are using a secure platform for viewing and creating our PDF documents. We need speed. It's one of those things that you don't realize you're missing until it's taking a long time to upload or bring up a large file. Speed is definitely something that you're going to be looking for. Edits and markups are essential in your line of work. In the construction business, we definitely need to have the ability to be marking up and editing our documents digitally, and of course doing estimates. If we can get a tool that can help us do some estimates in there, then that's definitely a bonus. And when you get all of these things together and weigh them out, then you can definitely make the decision on what is the right PDF viewer for you and your company. So let's start round one in this face-off with security and see how they do when side by side. So let's compare Bluebeam and Adobe here. Password protection, they both have it. So that's something that both applications are going to provide you as far as security. Also encryption, you can encrypt your PDFs. You can block download if you're sending them especially to a third party. You can send just for viewing only and blocking the download. So you definitely have all of those settings in both. So both are secure. There are a bunch of other security aspects that we can go through. These are the biggies here, especially when you're working with third parties. They're both secure platforms. That's not a big worry. So you really want to start considering functionality in these apps. Thinking about how your team, how your staff uses the apps and for what purpose. But let's take a quick look at security settings, how both look in each app. First, we have Adobe here, and we see the option to create a password or encrypt the document with a password. We'll just zoom in here. So we see this different settings that we can apply. And you can do the same thing similar in Bluebeam, and it looks very similar as well. So we'll just zoom in on that menu and we see some more granular controls, and that is definitely something that you'll see in Bluebeam because it is a collaborative space. It really exists to be a collaborative tool. There are finer controls in there to even set restrictions within your team. So you can see the encryption down here, the password. So a lot of fine-tuned controls in there and settings for privacy. So that's definitely a bonus in Bluebeam. But as far as being secure, both are secure platforms. And here they are side by side, very similar appearance and options, but again, Bluebeam does have a few more granular controls for internal and external use. And round two in our face-off here is the speed of your application. So just an FYI before we talk about opening in both applications, I just want to make clear that there is really no difference between a Bluebeam PDF and an Adobe Acrobat PDF because PDF is just a standard file format for viewing documents. It's almost a universal format at this point since everybody, that's how we're sending and receiving documents. So that's why, again, this PDF viewer, how people are using it in your company is really critical to the choice that you make in the application or multiple applications. It's typical to have more than one, especially in construction, as some people don't need the full functionality of Bluebeam. It's a little overwhelming. So let's talk about which is best for speed in our face-off here. So here we go. Adobe. What is Adobe best for? It's best for smaller files and text-only documents. Definitely contracts, having signs, filling out forms, that's Adobe. So think about the people in positions who are dealing with those kinds of documents versus Bluebeam, which is best for large files, drawings, and scaling pages. So zooming in and out of images is definitely a more seamless experience in Bluebeam. Does it work in Adobe? Sure, it's a little slower. Getting those documents up and running can be a little bit slower. Definitely text-only documents, definitely easier and more familiar in Adobe, of course. So really it's what you're looking to get out of each application. So that's where getting together with your staff and talking about how you use these applications is really a big step in making the right decision for your company. You can also speed up your processes. It's not just the speed in which you are bringing up your files, but also how you're working with them, right? So let's see how you can speed up your processes in both these applications. And the way that we're going to talk about it is through stamps. So this is Adobe, stamps in Adobe, and they're very, very basic looking. You can make them a little more dynamic by including a date and time, but this is to let people know that it has been approved, that it was received, reviewed, revised, and you can put your initials in there, whatever your convention is. In Bluebeam, they do get a little more complex. There are a lot more options to customize in Bluebeam based on the project or what the stamp is for, whether it's an approval. You see that there's a bunch of templates here that this company has developed, which is really, really a way to speed up your processes so you don't have to recreate that stamp every time you want to submit, either for review or just letting someone know that it was received, especially when it was approved, or putting your seal on there. Really, really nice tool to have, and definitely creating those stamp templates is a great way to speed up that process, especially for new people on board, maybe not sure what goes where, and just having those templates ready for them. The nice little title on each lets them know when to use what. So very, very great addition to your processes there. And round 3, markups and edits. Very, very important for us in construction. So let's see how these applications do. So the first is Adobe and Bluebeam. Which one is best for markups? So markups are going to be available to you in both. That's why it's in the middle here. Markups you can do in both, right? You're going to get more options, of larger tool chest, if you will, in Bluebeam. Do markups happen in Adobe? Sure, but better for text, better for contracts and things like that, and also edits. So this is where they're really neck and neck here when you get to those text-only documents. Some people find it a little tedious to do in Bluebeam because the tools are just so complex. It's a little bit overkill for a simple PDF, things like signing contracts or making edits in that respect. So for that, you would probably want to use Adobe for those text-only, again, signatures and contract edits, things like that, and markups, things that have to do with drawings, definitely in Bluebeam. So let's talk about tips for collaborating in different PDF applications. This is a big question that we get from you guys. So what happens if we do switch over to Bluebeam and we are working with a third party who uses Adobe? Well, there is a way that you can kind of eliminate that worry and open the PDFs in either application with no problem. So the first one is to export all your markups to a BAX or an FDF file so that you can work with the PDF in multiple applications, and it can be imported into another PDF viewer so that the markups that you've done will show. So that's an easy way to make sure that all of your markups will be visible. Usually in the PDF itself, in the image, you can see everything, but kind of the breakdown, the markup list, you can find in that file. And then when you import, you definitely want to make sure that you're importing along with the PDF that FDF or BAX file containing the notes generated from other PDF applications so that you're able to see all of those, again, those annotations and markups. And this BAX file is actually formatted in such a way that it's really easy to import into Excel. So that's a great little almost integration, but it's a great way to see what's going on and make sure that you have all the notes, especially if you're using another application. Another question that we get often is about CAD files and if you have CAD software installed. So if you are already using that kind of software and you're worried about the files or PDFs that you have in there, if you are using Bluebeam Review CAD or Extreme, then creating a PDF via the Bluebeam plugin will allow you to open those desired files in Bluebeam Review. So all you really need is that plugin, and that goes for other applications as well. The Bluebeam plugin should allow you to open those PDFs in Bluebeam. And if you have any questions about that, you can definitely get in touch with us. So let's look at Tracker, which is in Adobe, versus Markup Lists, which you'll find in Bluebeam. So these are great tools to help you stay up to date on your team's progress, just at a glance. So here we have it in Adobe. Tracker is a lot like track changes almost, if you guys use that in Word at all. So here we are in Adobe, and here's your toolbar at the top, and here's your little stamp icon. But here we are looking for this button here, which will open up the comments. But once you do have a change, you'll see the person who did it and what they've done here. We see that this was highlighted. So if we click on it, which we'll put a box around, it'll take you to that edit, who has done that edit and what they have done. So that's a great way to stay on top of it in Adobe. In Bluebeam, we have markup lists. So you can see at the bottom of the screen here is the markup list. We have the status, the author, the date, we have the color of the edit, any comments, whose responsibility it is. So this is a very, broken down kind of more intimate look at the changes in your document. And sometimes we need that. This is great for supervisors, anybody who likes, the fine details of any project. Great for that. So this is Bluebeam again, and these are the markup lists. Some people don't need all of this information. It's kind of overkill for them. They just need the PDF. They need to send it out. So they don't need to be working this intimately with it. For that, then Adobe might be great. Also for someone who doesn't deal with the drawing so much, mostly just paperwork stuff, your legal team, things like that, it's great to have Adobe. If you're really interested in taking a deeper dive into using an application for your drawings and keeping track of that, then Bluebeam would be the choice for you. And here's a pro tip on your drawings. You can ensure your markups stay in place on your document or your drawing by flattening them. And this is what that looks like in Bluebeam. It's kind of just a static document at this point once it's flattened. Great for sending out if you're not looking to have any reviews done just yet, or edits rather, or any other markups, just to send out to keep everybody updated. Great way to make sure that it doesn't get moved around once it's passed out of your hands. And then in Adobe, we have something similar, but it is called an Adobe print, an Adobe PDF. You go to the printer, you click Adobe PDF, and then it generates a static document for you right there, which you can then print, of course, but it won't print. It's not going to a printer. It's creating the static PDF. So that is how you would do something similar to flattening in Adobe. And last but not least, round 4 is estimating. So if we can get a tool that would not only help us create these PDFs, manage them, and also help us estimate, why wouldn't we take a look at that, right? So let's see what's best. It is Bluebeam by a long shot. Adobe really doesn't have anything that can help us with estimating. Bluebeam is the way to go if you're looking for a tool to help you with that. And let's take a look at what exactly Bluebeam can do as far as estimating. It can calibrate drawings, which is really nice. It can perform takeoffs for volume, area, line, perimeter. And you can name each takeoff and write notes for it, which is really great to keep your workflow smooth. And also set up multiple scales on one drawing. And we know that definitely scaling is one of Bluebeam's strengths at this point, definitely getting around in a drawing. So let's take a look at what this would look like in estimates. So here we go. You can see the scale over here. Excuse me, jumping around. I pressed the wrong button. So here we go. We have the scale over here. We have different areas that we can click on to see length and area. And then we have another view here, which is done with color. Very nice. And here you can kind of see different walls and different ways that you can have it laid out, just a different view. And of course the same, the scale measurements on the side. Very useful tool. Is it for everyone? Again, does everybody need access to this, and does everybody need to see this in the drawings, or what are they using the PDF for? So again, sitting down with your team and really figuring out how many people would really benefit from using this tool versus how many would actually get a headache from looking at it, right? So we definitely want to get a feel for that with our teams and see what would work best for everyone. So let's have a little recap of what we went through today with Adobe and Bluebeam, and then we'll talk about what we recommend. So here we go. Who's the winner? You decide who's the winner. Are you going to go ahead and make the switch from Adobe to Bluebeam and just go all in? Just a reminder that maybe you would have to take the time to train staff on that. So, or is it a kind of blending situation where you find that some people need Adobe and other people would really benefit from having Bluebeam, and that's absolutely okay too. Maybe you're using another PDF viewer that isn't Adobe and you're thinking about getting Bluebeam and keeping your original PDF. It's absolutely fine. Whatever works for your environment. You don't want to disrupt the processes too much, but you have to kind of weigh the pros and cons, which is what we are going to do right now. So first just talk about who uses what quickly. So Adobe, who in your office would probably need Adobe? Your administrative staff would definitely need it. Your legal team, anybody in marketing, definitely Adobe over Bluebeam, right? And finance. So those are people who would probably want to stick with Adobe. They probably wouldn't need too much access to anything in Bluebeam even, unless you're just using that as your PDF viewer alone. But this is a familiar tool at this point. They are comfortable in it. You don't have to rock the boat too much. It's perfectly okay to have two applications. So for Bluebeam, who's going to benefit from this? Project managers, definitely. Superintendents, again, loving those, and project managers as well, loving that markup list. Estimators, making their job super easy, right? Architects and engineers. So this is the team that would really be using Bluebeam as that collaborative space, as we mentioned, and getting to use all of those granular kind of settings in there. So that's who Bluebeam is truly meant for. Of course, anybody can use it. It is a PDF viewer, but does everybody need all of the bells and whistles, or is it a bit overkill at that point? That's an internal decision for you all to just sit down and decide together. But let's weigh the pros and cons in a little quick review here. So in an Adobe review, let's weigh the pros and cons. So some pros, there's less learning curve, right? Everybody pretty much knows this tool at this point due to the user-friendly interface and its popularity. How many people actually have Adobe in their offices, right? You can easily create, view, fill out, and sign online forms. Great, again, for that administrative staff or your front desk. Useful for sending proofs of contracts to clients. Do they necessarily need to see the whole thing in Bluebeam? You'll probably have a sit down for that. So sending proofs, just prints and all that out to clients, great in Adobe. Simple tracking of markup, so they don't need the whole gamut of tools there in Bluebeam. Just a simple kind of interface for them is fine. So the cons of Adobe we'll go through really quick. It is a higher cost. You do have an ongoing subscription required to continue to view and edit your PDFs in Adobe. The editing feature does not work well for spacing and alignment when you're viewing drawings. Really better for text. It does lag when opening large files or doing a visual search, not really meant for that again. And it does not have any estimating features. Also a poorly rated mobile app. So those are the cons to Adobe. You kind of just have to weigh them out, figure out if any of those would really interrupt your workflow. It's in your budget to keep two PDF platforms. Those are all things that you have to weigh out internally, but let's also do a Bluebeam review quickly here for everybody. So of course, again, let's weigh out the pros and cons. The pros being that there is a lower cost because you have a perpetual license available. And if you need more clarification on the license types and all of that, then you can feel free to check out their website to do an in-depth look at that, or get in touch with us if you're interested in making a decision on that. So there's fast visual search and opening of large files in Bluebeam, very feature-rich tool chest for estimates and editing. Again, we saw the stamp tool. There's so many other tools and options for editing in Bluebeam. It's a very deep dive. We've only scratched the surface here today, so you can imagine what's available in Bluebeam. A robust tracking of markups, great again for those project managers and superintendents. And also the ability to manage high volumes of drawings. So if you have a project with 180,000 drawings, you definitely need something that would be able to manage them for you, not block up anything while you're opening such large files. Some cons to Bluebeam: there is a higher learning curve due to those complex features. So if you have somebody who really only needs the basic features of a PDF viewer, then maybe learning all the intricacies of Bluebeam is just an overkill for them. It's not ideal for working with text documents, not ideal in Bluebeam. Editing features do not carry over from window to window. Sometimes you may have to reopen again that tool chest, so that can kind of slow you down a little bit in there. And it sometimes does lag while printing. So those are the pros and cons for Bluebeam. And so Adobe versus Bluebeam, really ask your staff to see which PDF viewer suits their needs best. At this point, I hope that you're leaving more informed on both PDF viewers. And if you have any questions, you can of course contact us. Again, my name is Elizabeth. It was a pleasure meeting with you today and going over Adobe Acrobat and Bluebeam Review. We hope you have a lovely day and that we talk to you soon. Thanks again for joining us. Bye-bye, everyone.